What's up, you friggin' geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve a system of equations using the substitution method. Okay, so here is our system. 2x plus y is equal to 7, and x minus 2y is equal to 6. So the way this method works is actually not too bad, right? So all you have to do is take one of your equations, doesn't matter which one, you can pick the first one or the second one. All you have to do is take one of them and then solve it in terms of x or solve it in terms of y. And again, I said you could pick either of these two equations. Let's just pick the second one, okay? So I'm going to take the second equation and I'm just going to solve it in terms of x, all right? So if I want to solve it in terms of x, that just means I want x by itself on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to take this second equation, right? X minus 2y is equal to 6, and I just want x by itself. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of this 2y, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to add 2y. And what you do to one side, you do to the other, right? So we're going to add 2y on this side also. Okay, so then this negative 2y, positive 2y cancel out, and we're just left with x, right? X is equal to 6 plus 2y. 6 plus 2y. Okay, cool. So I just solved this equation right here in terms of x, right? We got x is equal to 6 plus 2y, okay? So now that we know what x is equal to, right? It's equal to this little chunk right here. You're just going to take this little chunk and plug it in for x in the other equation, okay? So that'd be the first equation, right? Into the other equation. So we're going to take this little chunk and plug it in for x right there, okay? That's super, super important, okay? Make sure you don't take this little chunk and just plug it back into this original equation, okay? Because if you do that, you're going to end up actually eliminating all your variables, all right? You're going to get the completely wrong answer, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened, okay? So definitely don't do that. Make sure that you take the little chunk and plug it into the other equation, all right? So let's do that. Let's plug it into 2x plus y is equal to 7, and I'll write it over here just so we have some extra room. So 2x plus y is equal to 7. But now we know what x is equal to, right? It's equal to this little chunk, 6 plus 2y. All right, so let's plug it in. So we're going to have 2 times x, and again, x is 6 plus 2y. And then the rest of the equation, plus y is equal to 7, right? Plus y is equal to 7. Okay, so now you can see in this case, we don't have two variables anymore, right? We just have one variable, which is the y, right? We have a y there and a y there, okay? So we just have to solve for y now. So let's simplify this equation. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this 2 out here and distribute it into these parentheses, okay? So 2 times 6, that's equal to 12, and then 2 times 2y is equal to 4y. Okay, and then since we have a plus sign, just bring that down, okay? And then again, the rest of the equation, plus y is equal to 7, okay? So then here we're going to have 12 plus, and then 4y plus 1y, if you want to think of it that way, is 5y, right? So we're going to have 5y, and that's equal to 7, okay? So next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 12, and I'm going to do that by subtracting 12. And what we do to one side, we do to the other, okay? So then these 12s cancel out, and we're left with 5y is equal to 7 minus 12, which is equal to negative 5, right? Okay, now to solve for y and get rid of this 5, we're going to divide by 5. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. All right, so then these 5s cancel out, and we're just left with y is equal to negative 5 divided by 5, which is equal to negative 1, okay? So as you can see, we just solved for y right here, right? We got y is equal to negative 1. Okay, cool. So now we know what y is equal to, right? So now we just have to solve for x. So how do we figure out what x is? Well, all you have to do is take your answer for y and plug it into either equation, okay? Since we got an actual number for y, that's why we can plug it into either equation, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so to keep it simple, let's just use the first equation again. 2x plus y is equal to 7, right? 2x plus y is equal to 7, all right? But again, now we know what y is equal to, right? It's negative 1. So I'm going to plug in a negative 1 for y right here. So then here we're going to have 2x plus y, which is negative 1, right? So we're going to plug in a negative 1 right there, and then that's equal to 7. Okay, now to simplify this a little bit, adding a negative number is the same thing as just subtracting, right? So I'm going to simplify this as 2x minus 1, okay? And then again, that's equal to 7. All right, so we're trying to solve for x, right? So let's get rid of this negative 1. And we're going to do that by adding 1. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so then these 1's just cancel out, and we're left with 2x is equal to 7 plus 1, which is 8. Okay, and now to solve for x, we need to get rid of the 2. So we'll do that by dividing by 2. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so then these 2's cancel out, and we're left with x is equal to 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Okay, so we just found what x is equal to also, right? So x is equal to 4 and y is equal to -1. All right, here are your two answers. All right, let's do one more example that's going to be a little bit more difficult. And also I'm going to solve this one in terms of y instead of x, just so you can see that either way works. All right, here is our last example. So the two equations we have here are 4x minus 3y is equal to 6, and -15y minus 20x is equal to -30. Okay, so again, the first thing you have to do is just take either equation, doesn't matter which one, and solve it in terms of x or y. Okay, so again, I told you I'm going to solve this one in terms of y, right? And also, I'm going to use this first equation this time. So let's write it off to the side right here. So 4x minus 3y is equal to 6. Okay, now if I want to solve for y, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 4x, right? So I'm going to subtract 4x. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so then these 4x's cancel out, and we're just left with -3y is equal to 6 minus 4x, right? 6 minus 4x. All right, now the last thing I'm going to do is get rid of this -3, so we're going to do that by dividing by -3. And what we do to one side, we do to the other, right? So we have to divide all these numbers by -3 also. So then here, these -3's cancel out, and we're left with y is equal to 6 divided by -3, which is -2. And then here, -4x divided by -3. Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 4 over 3, that's as simplified as that can get. So just keep it as 4/3, and then we just have the x, right? So here we got y is equal to -2 plus 4/3 x. Okay, cool. So now we know what y is equal to, right? It's equal to this little chunk right here. So again, all you have to do is take this little chunk and plug it into the other equation, right? So we're going to take this, and we're going to plug it in for y in the second equation, okay? So we're going to plug it in right there. Okay, so here we're going to have -15 times y, but again, y is equal to this, right? -2 plus 4/3 x. -2 plus 4/3 x. Close the parentheses. And then the rest of the equation, -20x minus 30, right? Or is equal to, sorry, -30. Okay, so as you can see, we're just left with x's, right? So we're going to end up solving for x this time first. Okay, so in order to simplify this equation, first let's take this number out here, -15, and distribute it into these parentheses, okay? So -15 times -2, that's equal to +30, right? And then -15 times +4/3. Well, -15 times 4, that's equal to -60, right? So -60. And then that's just going to go over the denominator right here, 3. Okay, and since we still have this x out here, that still stays right there, okay? And then the rest of the equation, -20x is equal to -30, right? -20x is equal to -30. Okay, so now I'm going to combine like terms, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this +30 by subtracting 30. And what we do to one side, we do to the other, right? So we're going to subtract 30 over here also. So then these 30's cancel out, and here we're left with -60 divided by 3, which is equal to -20, right? So let's write that as -20. And then we still have this x right here. And then we have -20x, right? -20x is equal to -30 minus 30, that's equal to -60, right? So -60. Okay, and now let's combine like terms again. So here, -20x minus 20x, that's equal to -40x, right? -40x. So -40x is equal to -60. -60. All right, so in order to solve for x right here, we're going to get rid of the -40 by dividing by -40. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so then here these negative 40s cancel out, and we're left with x is equal to negative 60 divided by negative 40, which if you want, you can cancel out these zeros right here since they both have a 0 at the end. So we could write it as negative 6, let's write it right here, negative 6 over negative 4, which is the same thing as a negative divided by a negative is the same thing as a positive, right? So we could write this as positive 6 over 4, and then we can reduce that down to 3 halves, right? So then here we have x is equal to positive 3 halves. All right, cool. So we just figured out what x is equal to, right? X is equal to 3 halves. So now, how do we figure out what y is equal to? Well, again, all you have to do is take x and plug it into either one of these equations. Okay, and I'd rather work with some simpler numbers, so I'm going to plug it into this first equation right here. Okay, so I'm going to write it down here. So 4x minus 3y is equal to 6. But again, now we know what x is equal to, right? It's equal to 3 halves. So we're going to plug in 3 halves for x right here. So we're going to have 4 times x, which again is 3 halves, right? Close the parentheses, and then minus 3y is equal to 6. Minus 3y is equal to 6. Okay, and I'm just going to scroll down a little bit, give myself some room. All right, now here, 4 times 3 halves. Well, 4 times 3, that's equal to 12, right? And then you just put it over this denominator right here, which is 2. And then here we have minus 3y is equal to 6, okay? So 12 divided by 2, that's just equal to 6, right? So then we have 6 minus 3y is equal to 6, okay? So again, we're trying to solve for y. So let's get rid of this 6 by subtracting 6. And what we do to one side, we do to the other, right? So then these 6's cancel out. And then we're just left with negative 3y is equal to 6 minus 6, which is equal to 0. Okay, so here we have negative 3y is equal to 0, so that means y is equal to 0, right? Okay, cool. So we just solved for y, right? So x is equal to 3 halves and y is equal to 0. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below. Also, there's a couple playlists attached that I think you'll find helpful, so definitely check those out, and I'll see you there.